Time for a Grady Hendrix ranking video. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zacks Books, and today I've got for you a Grady Hendrix ranking video. I have now read 5 books from Grady Hendrix, and I am confident with my rankings, except between 2 and 3, because I'm still... yeah. I am very excited. Grady Hendrix was a surprise author for me last year with my best friend's Exorcism, which has been in numerous videos. Yeah, it's been a lot of videos. Top of last year, recommendation videos. By far was probably one of the best books I read last year, if you're not including Stephen King. So I decided to read these 5 books that I have. I know he's got a few more out there, but these are the ones that I have. And we will have these linked down below if you're intrigued with any of them. And yeah, let's get this thing started. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's go. Alright, so obviously I'm going to be ranking the 5 that I've read, obviously going from least favorite to the top dog. And coming in 5th place is Horror Store. So honestly, I don't even remember the main character's name in this book. I gave it 3 stars. The premise was pretty solid. It's basically like a haunted IKEA is kind of the best way to put this. Strange things are happening overnight, and the manager wants a crew to be working overnight to try and see what's going on. The guy's assuming it's like shoplifters and like bad people who are just kind of robbing the store, messing it up. Then you figure out what happens, and it's pretty much a haunted IKEA is what it ends up being. So it's like a catalog, because each chapter is like set to be like, it's like really weird. There's like a map for the store. Each chapter is like a furniture item. Like one is like a bookshelf, but it's got like a funky name. Then a dining set. It's really weird. But I just don't think, because Danielle and I actually did read this somewhat together, and she understood it better than I did, because at some point it just takes this really weird turn towards the end, and I got lost. So, just wasn't the best thing for me. I ended up giving it 3 stars, therefore, in 5th place is Horror Store. Coming in 4th place is his most recent book, The Final Girl Support Group. So, the Final Girl genre has not really been kind to me. I have not really been the biggest a fan of it, and I have not really had one that has worked. So when I found out Grady Hendrix, which is an author that has been working for me, was coming out with a Final Girl type of book, I was kind of had mixed feelings. And I gotta say, it's not the worst book that I have read. Obviously, it's better than Horror Store in my opinion. I gave this 3.5 stars. It just... some parts didn't click, some worked, and I enjoyed the book overall. So this is mainly about a group of final girls who like meet up and are friends, and then someone kind of starts picking them off. And it's kind of like this grand champion final girl, and when you figure out who it is and what it is and like what happens, it's a pretty solid twist. I wouldn't say it's like the best, but it's got a decent twist in it, and I really enjoyed it, honestly. So Grady Hendrix was able to make the final girl genre kind of work for me in this book, and so I was pretty excited about it. So 3.5 stars, ends up at number 4 on my list. There you have the Final Girl Support Group. Alright, so this is where it kind of gets a little touchy, because I'm very mixed between these 2 books on what number 2 and number 3 is. I think just for the sake of this video, with how recent I read this book, and it just because of how good the other one was, this one is still a really solid book. So I just have to put it at 3rd place just because it's too recent. It hasn't settled with me yet. In the future, it could change spots. I don't know. But in 3rd place is We Sold Our Souls. So this, it kind of like how Horror Store is kind of like a book catalog for like furniture. This is kind of like a Rolling Stones magazine. And so the premise for this is there's this band like way back in the late 90s. It's sometime in the 90s, and what happens is one of the members decides to like sell out in a sense and make everybody sign a contract, and the guy's like, oh yeah, all the lawyers have read it, it's fine, just sign it. Nobody really wants to sign it. The girl, Chris, ends up getting too upset. She leaves. She comes back, and everyone has signed it except for her. And it turns out, like the title said, they sold their souls. Bad things kind of start happening, and the girl, Chris, is the main person we're following, and she is set on like getting revenge on the guy who like screwed the band over. He kind of like betrayed everybody, made his own thing happen, and the rest of the bandmates don't really care all that much except for one of them. And I don't know, it was a solid book. I ended up giving this 5 stars. So that just shows that Grady Hendrix is like a 5-star writer for me, if 3 of my top 5 were 5 stars. So I really did enjoy this book. I just read it recently. It's been like maybe a few days now. But really solid book. Really enjoyed it. Gave it 5 stars. And there you have in third place, We Sold Our Souls. Alright, we're down to the final 2 books. And at this point, y'all probably know what number 1 is. But before I get to that, I'm going to show you number 2. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. So this book was really solid. Read it earlier this year. Gave it 5 stars. It's his take on vampires. It's his take on Salem's Lot. It's a really solid book. I really enjoyed it. 5 stars. This woman in this book club named Patricia is the main person we're following. And this weird, sketchy guy kind of moves in the neighborhood and she starts accusing him of some weird things, and nobody really seems to believe her, and it gets really frustrating for the reader because you know like what is going on, and a lot of things she's accusing him of is actually happening, and nobody's like believing her. The guy is always being nice to everybody else, and it gets really frustrating. It really is a solid book. It was honestly just in a horror recommendation. I don't remember if it was 3 or 4, but we'll post that up here if you want to take a look at that, because I do talk about it a little bit more on there. But I absolutely did love this book, and I gave it 5 stars. This was probably on several TBR videos, and I finally just said, I'm just going to read it. And I did, and I was not disappointed. So there you have it. Number 2, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Alright, so we have reached number 1, which most of you guys probably knew this was coming up as number 1. My all-time favorite Grady Hendrix book is My Best Friend's Exorcism. So this is a really, really weird book.
Isn't it one of your favorite, like, all-time favorite books?
Well, yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite books in general. It's probably in the top 10 at least.
Like non-King too, right?
Well, yeah, non-King it's probably... Well, yeah, there's a couple of classics that I've read recently that have been up there, so. But I would say this and, like, Nick Cutter's The Troop were probably the 2 biggest surprises last year that I read. So this book is about 2 high school friends, Abby and Gretchen, who they met at, like, this weird circumstance where one of them had a birthday party. Nobody was really going to it, and then this one girl showed up, and the mom was like, she's weird, I don't want to be at her party, she sucks, and then they talk, and then they become really good friends. Well, one summer, I want to say it is, when they're in high school, something happens to Gretchen while they are camping with some other friends, and suddenly, Abby is not like the cool one. Gretchen all of a sudden becomes popular. She kind of becomes cold. She kind of turns into a bitch, I would say, at some points. Abby's like really confused and trying to figure out what happened. And I will say that it is absolutely, it's creepy. This book has got weird, disturbing scenes. There's a scene with a girl who gets infected with something. It's like towards the end. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything else than that, but she gets this weird infection thing happening, and it can get graphic. And I'm giving you that warning now if you do decide to read this. There's a graphic thing. But so is Nick Cutter's The Troop. That book is like very graphic. But this book was phenomenal. I gave it 5 stars. I think I ended up reading part of this when like the power went out in our house, and actually kind of went like it was kind of like creepy because it was like towards the end, and a lot of creepy things started happening. So, but I absolutely love this book, and I pretty much will forever love it. And it was my very first Grady Hendrix book, and it's the best one I've read. So there you have it. Number 1, My Best Friend's Exorcism. Alright guys, so there you have my tier ranking of Grady Hendrix books. Obviously these are the 5 I've read. He's got more out there. I gotta find them and read them. But this is... Grady Hendrix is probably my favorite non-Stephen King author. I mean, it's debatable. I mean, Anya Alborn's up there. I got to read some more Darcy Coates, but I've loved a lot of things she's written so far. Maybe I'll do a video on that. We'll see. Yeah, drop a like if you want to see a video where I compare other authors and kind of rank them that aren't Stephen King, because obviously King's probably number 1. So, but yeah, so this is my tier ranking of the Grady Hendrix books I've read. Let me know what some of your favorite Grady Hendrix books are down below. And also, just some of your favorite books in general, let me know down below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Later.